For most of my adult life, leaders in our state have been talking about the brain drain. The idea that so many people who graduated from colleges in Iowa immediately leave the state that it needs a label, brain drain. It's a real thing. Data was published in May that said that 50% of the students at Iowa State and Iowa and 15% of the students at UNI will leave the state after graduation. Everyone thinks about this as a problem. How could you not when it's called brain drain? But the real problem isn't losing recent graduates. It's that we aren't attracting people to Iowa fast enough to grow significantly. But I'm not going to talk about that. I'm talking about how awesome it is for people leaving our state to become ambassadors. There's 8,000 graduates from our state universities, plus their counterparts in private schools and community colleges. They have the potential to become ambassadors for everything that it means to be an Iowan. We need to flip the idea of brain drain on its head and celebrate these Iowans. We need to create a culture where people value that Iowa is a part of their story, a part of their journey. We want them to embrace that having lived in Iowa helped to shape them into what they go on to become and what they accomplish after they leave. We need to change the idea of, I can't wait to get out, into, I'm glad that I was there. We need to make the point that whether you were born and raised here, educated here, or worked here at one point in your life, you are always an Iowan. You have Iowan heritage. There are more Irish pubs around the world than any other type of bar. Why? Because the Irish people had their own, much more severe drain event in the potato famine. They went all over the world, and they carried their heritage with them. It still exists today, and as a result, we can celebrate by drinking Guinness anywhere we go. We need an attitude and culture like the Irish. To some extent, we have this. If two people from Iowa meet somewhere in New York, or Chicago, or Dublin, they'll talk about their shared connection to Iowa. It's natural, it's expected, and I'm sure that it's happened to you. But the same isn't true for every state. Do you think that Californians or Texans would do this? Well, maybe, but it's not a given. Those states are too big. Their experiences are too diverse. The relatively small size of Iowa makes this shared experience all the more unique. The so-called brain drain has created a vast and well-educated alumni base for the state of Iowa. They represent every industry, every ethnic group, and both genders. They're in all corners of the world, and they're doing some pretty amazing things. Just think about technology. Ben Silverman, from Des Moines, the founder of Pinterest, his company currently has a valuation of over $11 billion. Steve Van Roel, a Cherokee native and Iowa State grad, was the second CIO of the United States. Ayush Fumbra, he earned his MBA at Iowa State and founded Chegg, the Netflix for textbook rental company that he IPO'd in 2013. In comedy, you have people like Steve Higgins, a Des Moines native, SNL producer and announcer on The Tonight Show, Brooks Wheelan from Manchester, former cast member on Saturday Night Live, and Robin Thede from Davenport, who is currently the head writer on Comedy Central's The Nightly Show with Larry Wilmore. In television and film, you have folks like Michelle Monaghan from tiny Winthrop in Northeast Iowa. She was the female lead on True Detective, Mission Impossible 3, and Gone Baby Gone. Jason Momoa from Norwalk. He was Khal Drogo on Game of Thrones and will soon be Aquaman. Elijah Wood from my hometown of Cedar Rapids, but no relation. Of course you know from Lord of the Rings fame. In music, you have Nate Roos from the band Fun, born in Iowa City, Nora Kirkpatrick from Edward Sharp, she's from Johnston, and Dave Kuehning of the Killers is from Pella, and of course an alumnus of the University of Iowa. Investors as well. You have Ashton Kutcher from Clear Creek Amana High School. He's obviously an actor. He's invested in companies like Airbnb, Skype, Uber, and Dwala. Mark Andreessen, the founder of Netscape, is the managing partner of Andreessen Horowitz. It's been labeled the most powerful man in Silicon Valley. He's originally from Cedar Falls. What do these people have in common? They're all eligible to join the unofficial State of Iowa Alumni Association called the Iowan Project. It's an online map and database where anyone who was born, raised, educated, or worked in Iowa can self-identify and share not just their Iowa connection, but where they are and what they're up to now. You should encourage every one of your expat friends to join the Iowan Project. Not now, but as soon as you're done watching this video. Text them all, iowanproject.com. It's not going to convince them to move back. It's not going to convince them to start companies here. It's not going to solve the underlying problem, which is that we don't yet attract enough new people into our state. What it will do is start to change the attitude and the culture around having a connection to Iowa as part of your life story. Reed Hastings, the CEO of Netflix, is from somewhere not Iowa, but has a famous quote about building company culture at Netflix. Let's create a company that will be a great place to be from. I say that everyone watching this should think of our state, that Iowa is a great place to come from. I invited Ben Silverman to speak at a conference in Des Moines in 2011. Pinterest had been live for about 18 months. He just raised his first really big round of funding, and his talk was awesome. Part of it, he talked about how Iowa has influenced that company. It was inspired by the bug collection he kept as a kid in Des Moines. His friends in Iowa understood much faster than his friends on the coast, and Iowans were disproportionately represented as users on the site. Now, Ben will probably never move back here. He's probably never going to open a branch office for Pinterest here. But every time he tells that story, how being an Iowan is key to the success of his company, that's a win for all of us, and that's why brain drain is awesome for Iowa.